Hello, everyone. Sorry to hear that you're gonna miss it, Kayla. Time difference is a B. Beforehand, I know something. What message does the Dark Lord have for me? Was Snape's passing info to Dumbledore even before Voldy threatened Lily? I didn't notice that either. Maybe. Was Snape always working for Dumbledore? Even before? I think I'd have to go back and read it to figure out. But that is interesting. Some conspiracy theories coming out of that. Yeah, that's true. Maybe Voldy had Snape working for him to spy on Dumbledore. Then Dumbledore caught him, and he was more afraid of Dumbledore than he was Voldemort.
What are you bullshit are you spewing right now?
P.S. So glad you could make a live stream too. Glad you're here.
Ugh, my nails are terrible. They're not painted, nothing.
Ooh, us in Jeopardy? Ooh. That's a tough one.
What?
Look, I wouldn't blame you if you had to, step away to watch some Jeopardy. I get really sucked into Jeopardy, I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those things.
I like to watch Jeopardy competitively and play against people. That's my jam. I love Jeopardy.
Dan says it's not BS, it's giving more credit to Snape.
I didn't hear what the theory was. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
What?
Hold on, let me go back. I'll read it for you. What message? Or here we go. He was listening to Fry beforehand. He noticed something. What message does the Dark Lord have for me? Was Snape's passing info to Dumbledore even before Voldy listened or threatened Lily? Maybe. Was he, working under the table all the time?
No.
No? Oh, just no. Okay.
That's Dumbledore being mocking. That's just Dumbledore being like a sass pants, like, oh, what does the Dark Lord have for me? Like, he was just mocking.
Whatever you want to think.
Catherine says she's been waiting for a year to catch a streak.
Well,
Damn.
If there's one to catch, it's probably this one.
This.
It's Alexa's favorite chapter.
It's not my favorite chapter.
Oh, really?
It's not my favorite chapter.
Oh, is the forest again your favorite?
The Forest again is my favorite chapter. This one is probably my second favorite chapter. This chapter, God, my nails are so gross. Ugh. This chapter, when I read it for the first time, was just like vindication from everything that I was telling everyone from book one. I was like, yes, I was right. I was right. Yes. And I cried. There was also lots of crying and emotion. But, this chapter.
This was the winning chapter.
Oh,
hey, Mike.
Happy New Year.
And yes, Happy New Year.
Just, so much vindication. So much. And crying. And just
No, Dan. Some of us don't want to give Snape extra positive points.
I will always give Snape extra positive points.
He just took him away, so I don't know.
How'd I take him away?
By saying no, he couldn't have been being a good guy the whole time.
That's the it takes away from the beauty of his character arc.
Yeah, I guess, but still. He can be a good guy and still have a good character arc.
And takes away from Dumbledore's pension for being a sass.
Fair enough. We can't have that.
We can't have that.
But okay, so why is this your second favorite chapter? Was it just the vindication?
No. How do I explain this? So, part of it is you finally get the full reveal of Harry as a Horcrux.
Yeah.
And then the weight of what that means and what Harry is going to next have to do. And this chapter starts right after the previous chapter where Snape has died. And his last words to Harry are, "Look at me." That's his last words, is "look at me." And he's saying, like, take my memories and see me for who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, see me. And you just get all of this information about why Snape was the way he was and who he was. And when you get that reveal of in the previous book, you find out, like, he heard the prophecy, he's the one that turned Voldemort on to the Potters, and then you find out he was in love with Lily, and how everything after that has just been about atonement for that horrible, horrible mistake. And all the connections to the previous books too. Just all these things that are just revealed in a masterstroke.
That's fair. I kind of forgot everything
so good.
Yeah, I kind of forgot everything that was included in this chapter because it's been so long, but you're right, this is kind of the chapter where everything comes together. At least the big parts are revealed, and then you start to think back to the little things that you missed.
There are so many little things that are revealed here, and actually Catherine says she's reading Order of the Phoenix right now, so this is actually pretty cool that we're reading this chapter, because, like, this is the chapter where you read Order of the Phoenix and you think, oh, this is Snape's worst memory because it's humiliating and it's awful. And it's awful. And then you read this chapter and you find out really why it was his worst memory. And it's so much more devastating.
Yeah.
Than just the humiliation of being bullied. But then you get, like, other little things, like in Order of the Phoenix when Petunia says, like, she talks about Dementors and she's like, yeah, I heard that nasty boy telling my sister. And when you read that, you think, oh, it's got to be James. Like, you would assume it's James. But then you find out when you read this, oh, it was actually Snape. And there are just a lot of parallels between Snape and Harry.
Maybe that's why Petunia is the way she is. The first wizard she met was Snape.
Lily was the first witch she met.
She didn't know she was at the time, though.
That's not why Petunia is the way she is.
I know.
You are just shitting on Snape.
That's it. I'm just shitting on Snape. Just looking for excuses. It's my thing.
I think you can read it as look at me, so he wants to gaze into Lily's eyes once more. And
that's how I kind of pictured it.
I don't see why it can't be both, because I can read it both ways.
Yeah.
As, like, look at me, so he can look into her eyes once more, but also, like, look at me as in, like, see me.
Mm-hmm.
Understand why Dumbledore trusted me. really see everything, see the picture
Yeah, I could see
for
that.
what it is.
I guess that statement kind of has layers. Because I definitely took it as that he wanted to see Lily's eyes again. Because throughout the entire book, you just get bombarded with the fact that Harry has Lily's eyes
Right.
over and over and over again.
The eyes are the window to the soul.
That is true.
So,
But in this case, which soul? Harry's? Or the Horcrux?
wait, what? What? I was
I
reading
said
what people were
But
saying.
in this case, which soul? Put that over here too, so it's a little bit bigger. I don't know if that's any easier for you.
A little bit. Now I don't have to do this.
It's true, you don't have to look past the mic either.
Yeah.
Now we're here talking about it. Do you want to just dive in, start reading, and we can really break it down step by step?
Why not?
You sure you can handle that?
I suppose.
Big emotions this chapter.
Big emotions this chapter. Not as much as if we were reading like the Malfoy Manor chapter though, so
Malfoy man. Oh, that's the one where Dobby dies, isn't it? Yeah.
or the next
Yeah, let's not read that one. Let's not do that.
or the next chapter, The Forest Again. Ooh, that one gets me every time. All right. Here we go. And if anyone
There we go.
does the make sure you read from Deathly Hallows, not Half-Blood Prince, as the title says. Ah, yeah. The title's wrong.
No.
The title's wrong. Oh my god. Oh my god. Jeez.
Let me just...
Wow. At least everyone know this chapter is famous enough that everyone knows, like,
Right? Thanks for telling me, guys.
Alright.
No, but thank you, Dan. I would not have picked up on
I
that.
gotta there we go. I gotta
Yeah, you can move that light or
That's-
however you need to do it.
now we're good, I think. Chapter 33. The Prince's Tale. Harry remained kneeling at Snape's side, simply staring down at him, until quite suddenly a high, cold voice spoke so close to them that Harry jumped to his feet, the flask gripped tightly in his hands, thinking that Voldemort had re-entered the room. Voldemort's voice reverberated from the walls and floor, and Harry realised that he was talking to Hogwarts and to all the surrounding area, that the residents of Hogsmeade and all those still fighting in the castle could hear him as clearly as if he stood beside them, his breath on the back of their necks, a death blow away. "You have fought," said the high, cold voice, "valiantly. Lord Voldemort knows how to value bravery. Yet you have sustained heavy losses. If you continue to resist me, you will all die, one by one. I do not wish this to happen. Every drop of magical blood spilled is a loss and a waste. Lord Voldemort is merciful. I command my forces to retreat immediately."
Lord Voldemort, merciful.
"You have 1 hour. Dispose of your dead with dignity. Treat your injured. I speak now, Harry Potter, directly to you. You have permitted your friends to die for you rather than face me yourself. I shall wait for 1 hour in the Forbidden Forest. If, at the end of that hour, you have not come to me, have not given yourself up, then battle recommences.
This time I shall enter the fray myself, Harry Potter, and I shall find you, and I shall punish every last man, woman, and child who has tried to conceal you from me. 1 hour.
So,
Right? Rip
just
Fred.
throwing it out here, Voldemort is the consummate fascist, taking no responsibility for anything, just saying, like, you have sustained heavy losses. Every drop of magical blood spilled is a waste. But what is the reason for all of that violence? It's you, Voldy. It's all you. And then in
Harry,
this...
why do you make me kill so many people?
Right. And then he's just like, at the very end, he's like, oh, and Harry, if you don't come to the forest, I'm going to just slaughter everyone. Just so you know. Like, what a fascist. Lord Voldemort is merciful. Okay. He just, no responsibility, vague statements to eschew responsibility, like, just premier fascist.
Patting himself on the back. I'm such a good dictator.
Premier fascist stuff right there.
My opinion on what happened to Lavender, honestly, she died.
She died.
She did.
She's totally dead.
But
Yeah,
I
she
agree,
didn't
it
make
left it so open-ended. I think when we originally read this, I came up with some crazy conspiracy of how she survived or something, but in all reality,
She's dead.
yeah.
Um,
I didn't like how they did that. She was kind of like a big character, and then it was just like, and then Lavender was laying there motionless. Moving on. She got no
Well, I mean-
finality to her story.
that's what happens in war, though. Sometimes you just don't know.
That's true, I guess.
Voldemort is also playing to Harry's biggest fear here and his biggest insecurity, that you have let so many people die for you, Harry. And throughout this whole book and this whole series, his whole thing has been like, no, don't. I won't let people die for me.
Yeah.
And he's like constantly conscious of it, but they're not dying for him. They're dying for the cause. They're fighting for what's good and right. It's not like they're dying for Harry, but he can't help but think that like he's responsible for their deaths, and Voldemort is just like playing on that big time.
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
Both Ron and Hermione shook their heads frantically, looking at Harry. "Don't listen to him," said Ron. "It'll be all right," said Hermione wildly. Let's get back to the castle. If he's gone to the forest, we'll need to think of a new plan." She glanced at Snape's body, then hurried back to the tunnel entrance. Ron followed her. Harry gathered up the invisibility cloak, then looked down at Snape. He did not know what to feel, except shock at the way that Snape had been killed, and the reason for which it had been done.
The reason for which it had been done. A little bit of foreshadowing here to Harry figuring out Voldemort's biggest mistake with wands.
Not realizing.
Snape was never the master of the Elder Wand.
Oh, yeah. I thought we were talking about the twin cores, but yeah,
No.
yeah, that was the thing.
Do you remember the thing
I mean,
about the
but-
wands?
Well, yeah, but I mean, to Voldy's credit, he didn't know.
But he never takes the time to understand. He understands enough to know that the wand isn't working properly for him, but he doesn't dig. He just assumes it's because Snape killed Dumbledore, therefore he must be the master of the wand.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how it works, so you just...
That's
assume.
not how it works.
What? You have to defeat the person.
You have to defeat the person, not necessarily kill them. Who is the real master of the Elder Wand?
Oh, so they have to act... Well, Malfoy.
Right, because Malfoy disarmed Dumbledore before Snape showed up.
Yeah,
Right.
I know that, but Voldemort didn't know that.
Right,
that's what I'm
Voldemort
saying.
didn't know that, but he
doesn't bother to take the time to really understand that you don't have to kill someone. He just is making assumptions, wild assumptions here. That, oh, you killed Dumbledore, therefore... Like, Snape killing Dumbledore doesn't win the wand's allegiance automatically. He's just making a wild assumption about it.
Well, no, but that's only because Draco disarmed him first.
Right, but Dumbledore didn't duel Snape.
I don't think that matters.
I think it does. You have to win the wand.
No, because when they tell the story of the two brothers, they talk about the one brother was killed in his sleep, and the wand was taken from him.
But Dumbledore and Snape entered into an agreement that Snape would kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, he wouldn't have won the wand.
I'm saying either way, it doesn't matter though, because Draco would have been.
Well, Draco would have. And the point is that
Voldemort didn't know that.
But
so I'm just saying, in Voldemort's defense,
we're defending Voldemort right now. What a turn this is taking!
This is what, like, logically speaking, if I was in his shoes, I would have assumed the same thing. And you have the placebo effect, so it must be
right.
Better,
but he doesn't ask Snape any questions about what happened. He just makes the assumption. Right.
I mean, yeah.
Right. He just makes the assumption. He doesn't investigate. He just makes the assumption that the violence and the murder and the bad thing would be what it would be.
I'm just saying, I think if he knew that Draco disarmed Dumbledore first, he would have killed Draco instead of Snape.
Well, he wanted to kill Draco anyway.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think if he knew, he would.
Yeah, but I don't think Voldemort understands wands to that depth.
Wands as a whole, no, but
yeah, I don't
doubt for a second that he did not research the crap out of the Elder Wand. Maybe not the other.
He didn't, because he didn't research the crap out of the Elder Wand enough to know that it's considered potentially one of the Deathly Hallows. He didn't. All he heard was that it was a legendary, ultimate powerful wand, and that was it, and he needed to have it. Like, Voldemort doesn't take into consideration anything that will not give him greater power, greater prowess. He doesn't care. That's enough. It's the most powerful wand ever. Okay, I need to have it. Because Ollivander didn't tell him about the Deathly Hallows. Ollivander didn't know. All Ollivander said was, yeah, there's this, like, legendary wand. It's supposedly, like, an unbeatable wand. And that's it. That's all Voldemort takes. That's the only information he needs. It's an unbeatable wand. I can finally kill Harry. That's it.
That's fair. You got me there. I feel like we could do a whole live stream talking about, like, Voldemort's understanding of certain things. So
we could.
We'll just move on. Because you have a plethora.
Yeah, there's a lot. Okay. The sticky note was just foreshadowing. That was all I wrote, was foreshadowing for Harry to, like, come back later and be like, "Yo, who's the master of the Elder Wand? Not you." They crawled back through the tunnel, none of them talking, and Harry wondered whether Ron and Hermione could still hear Voldemort ringing in their heads, as he could. "You have permitted your friends to die for you, rather than face me yourself. I shall wait for 1 hour in the Forbidden Forest. 1 hour." Small bundles seemed to litter the lawn in front of the castle. It could only be an hour or so from dawn, yet it was pitch black. The three of them hurried up to toward the stone steps. A lone clog, size of a small boat, lay abandoned in front of them. There was no sign of Grawp or his attacker. The castle was unnaturally silent. There were no flashes of light now, no bangs or screams or shouts. The flagstones of the deserted entrance hall were stained with blood. Emeralds were still scattered all over the floor, along with pieces of marble and splintered wood. Part of the banisters had been blown away. Emeralds scattered all over the floor. The shame of Slytherin House right now. The dishonor. It's terrible. I am ashamed of my group of people here. It's awful.
To be expected.
You stop that. Where is everyone? Whispered Hermione. Ron led the way to the great hall. Harry stopped in the doorway. The house tables were gone and the room was crowded. The survivors stood in groups, their arms round each other's necks. The injured were being treated upon the raised platform by Madame Pomfrey and a group of helpers. Firenze was amongst the injured. His flank poured blood and he shook where he lay, unable to stand. The dead lay in a row in the middle of the hall. Harry could not see Fred's body because his family surrounded him. George was kneeling at his head. Mrs. Weasley was lying across Fred's chest, her body shaking, Mr. Weasley stroking her hair while tears cascaded down his cheeks. Without a word to Harry, Ron and Hermione walked away. Harry saw Hermione approach Ginny, whose face was swollen and blotchy, and hug her. Ron joined Bill, Fleur, and Percy, who flung an arm round Ron's shoulders. As Ginny and Hermione moved closer to the rest of the family, Harry had a clear view of the bodies lying next to Fred. Remus and Tonks, pale and still and peaceful-looking, apparently asleep under the great dark beneath the dark, enchanted ceiling. And I just highlighted that Rowling used that metaphor again of seeming to be asleep.
Everyone's so sleepy.
She did it with Dumbledore last time. She does it again with Dobby, where Luna's like, there, he could be asleep.
They're not dead. They're just sleeping. It's okay. It's okay, everyone. They're tired.
I mean, it echoes back to the quote at the beginning of this book, but what is death but just friends going between two worlds? Death is not the finality. It's just like going to sleep and waking up someplace else.
The next great adventure.
The great hall seemed to fly away, become smaller, shrink, as Harry reeled back from the doorway. He could not draw breath. He could not bear to look at any of the other bodies, to see who else had died for him. He could not bear to join the Weasleys, could not look into their eyes, when, if he had given himself up in the first place, Fred might never have died. He turned away and ran up the marble staircase. Lupin, Tonks. He yearned not to feel. He wished he could rip out his heart, his innards, everything that was screaming inside him. The castle was completely empty. Even the ghosts seemed to have joined the mass mourning in the great hall. Harry ran without stopping, clutching the crystal flask of Snape's last thoughts, and he did not slow down until he reached the stone gargoyle guarding the headmaster's office. "Password?" "Dumbledore," said Harry without thinking, because it was he whom he yearned to see, and to his surprise the gargoyle slid aside, revealing the spiral staircase behind. But when Harry burst into the circular office, he found a change. The portraits that hung all around the walls were empty. Not a single headmaster or headmistress remained to see him. All, it seemed, had flitted away, charging through the paintings that lined the castle, so that they could have a clear view of what was going on. Harry glanced hopelessly at Dumbledore's deserted frame, which hung directly behind the headmaster's chair, then turned his back on it. The stone pensieve lay in the cabinet where it had always been. Harry heaved it onto the desk and poured Snape's memories into the wide basin with its runic markings round the edge. To escape into someone else's head would be a blessed relief. Nothing that even Snape had left him could be worse than his own thoughts. The memories swirled, silver-white and strange, and without hesitating, with a feeling of reckless abandonment, as though this was a...
You okay?
As though this would assuage his torturing grief, Harry dived. He fell headlong into sunlight, and his feet found warm ground. When he straightened up, he saw that he was in a nearly deserted playground. A single huge chimney dominated the distant skyline. Two girls were swinging backward and forward, and a skinny boy was watching them from behind a clump of bushes. His black hair was overlong, and his clothes were so mismatched that it looked deliberate. 2 short jeans, a shabby, overlarge coat that might have belonged to a grown man, and an odd smock-like shirt. My, doesn't that sound an awful lot like Harry at the beginning of our story?
Sounds exactly like Harry, actually.
It does, doesn't it?
It does. Except Harry's hair was cleaner.
Harry moved closer to the boy. Snape looked no more than 9 or 10 years old, sallow, small, stringy. There was undisguised greed in his thin face as he watched the younger of the two girls swinging higher and higher than her sister. "Lily, don't do it!" shrieked the elder of the two. But the girl had let go of the swing at the very height of its arc and flown into the air, quite literally flown, launched herself skyward with a great shout of laughter, and instead of crumpling on the playground asphalt, she soared like a trapeze artist through the air, staying up far too long, landing far too lightly. "Mummy told you not to!" Petunia stopped her swinging by dragging the heels of her sandals on the ground, making a crunching, grinding sound, then leapt up, hands on hips. "Mummy said you weren't allowed, Lily." "But I'm fine," said Lily, still giggling. "Toonie, look at this. Watch what I can do." Petunia glanced round. The playground was deserted apart from themselves, and, though the girls did not know it, Snape. Lily picked up a fallen flower from the bush behind which Snape lurked. Petunia advanced, evidently torn between curiosity and disapproval. Lily waited until Petunia was near enough to have a clear view, then held out her palm. The flower sat there, opening and closing its petals, like some bizarre many-lipped oyster. "Stop it!" shrieked Petunia. "It's not hurting you," said Lily, but she closed her hand on the blossom and threw it back to the ground. "It's not right," said Petunia, but her eyes had followed the flower's flight to the ground and lingered upon it. "How do you do it?" she added, and there was definite longing in her voice.
The jealousy of Petunia.
The jealous,
begins.
it's already there, and her mistrust of it being unnatural is already there. And Lily is just like, "What? It's not hurting you. It's fine." But Lily is conscious of the feelings of others, and she stops nonetheless.
Because she's a good person.
Because she's a good person.
Unlike Petunia, who is only conscious of her own feelings. So screw everyone else.
"It's obvious, isn't it?" Snape could no longer contain himself, but had jumped out from behind the bushes. Petunia shrieked and ran backward toward the swings, but Lily, though clearly startled, remained where she was. Snape seemed to regret his appearance. A dull flush of colour mounted the sallow cheeks as he looked at Lily. "What's obvious?" asked Lily. Snape had an air of nervous excitement. With a glance at the distant Petunia, now hovering beside the swings, he lowered his voice and said, "I know what you are." "What do you mean?" You're a witch," whispered Snape. She looked affronted. "That's not a very nice thing to say to anybody, to say to somebody." She turned, nose in the air, and marched off toward her sister. "No!" said Snape. He was highly coloured now, and Harry wondered why he did not take off the ridiculously large coat, unless it was because he did not want to reveal the smock beneath it. He flapped after the girls, looking ludicrously bat-like, like his older self.
I just think of the scene where he leaves the Wile E. Coyote
Snape-shaped hole.
Talking about the bat shape. Because in the chat they're actually talking about who taught who to fly. Did Snape teach Voldemort, or did Voldemort teach Snape?
Voldemort taught Snape.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Why?
I didn't remember.
Yeah, Voldemort taught Snape.
Does it ever say that, or is that something you've learned outside from Pottermore or something? Because I don't remember it ever discussing that in the books.
They do. They mention it in the book when he flies out of the snake-shaped hole. They're like, "Oh, his master taught him to fly," because he doesn't fly at any point until later, because he uses a broom in the beginning of the book.
Well, yeah, you gotta keep that sort of stuff, under wraps. Otherwise, everyone's gonna be asking you for flying lessons.
Voldy taught Snape.
Okay.
Because he was his number one. Until he wasn't.
Snape could have been the greatest Quidditch player of all time with those skills. No broom needed.
Don't think Snape would ever play Quidditch. Yeah, Snape uses a broom. In the Flight of the Seven Potters, Snape uses a broom. The sisters considered him, united in disapproval, both holding on to one of the swing poles as though it was the safe place and tag. "You are," said Snape to Lily. "You are a witch. I've been watching you for a while. But there's nothing wrong with that. My mum's one, and I'm a wizard." Petunia's laugh was like cold water. "Wizard?" she shrieked, her courage returned now that she had recovered from the shock of his unexpected appearance. "I know who you are. You're that Snape boy. They live down Spinner's End by the river," she told Lily, and it was evident from her tone that she considered the address a poor recommendation. "Why have you been spying on us?" "Haven't been spying," said Snape, hot and uncomfortable and dirty-haired in the bright sunlight. "Wouldn't spy on you, anyway," he added spitefully. "You're a muggle." Already, Petunia, being fucking judgy. "That's the Snape boy from that part of town. Ew,
Maybe I had it backwards. Maybe this is why Snape hated muggles.
Because the first one he talked to was
Petunia,
Petunia.
yeah.
Ugh, yeah. And his
I
dad.
just had it backwards.
See, he had his dad, who was a total douche nozzle to his mom.
Yeah.
And then he met Petunia. Like...
Yeah, he did not have a good first or second introduction to
Muggles.
The Muggle world.
Though Petunia evidently did not understand the word, she could hardly mistake the tone. "Lily, come on, we're leaving," she said shrilly. Lily obeyed her sister at once, glaring at Snape as she left. He stood watching them as they marched through the playground gate, and Harry, the only one left to observe him, recognized Snape's bitter disappointment, and understood that Snape had been planning this moment for a while, and that it had all gone wrong. So funny how Harry, after 6, almost 7 books of hating this dude beyond belief, has grown so much that he's watching these events and he is empathizing and understanding where things are coming from.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can kind of see it.
The scene dissolved, and before Harry knew it, reformed round him. He was now in a small thicket of trees. He could see sunlight. He could see a sunlit river glittering through their trunks. The shadows cast by the trees made a basin of cool green shade. 2 children sat opposite each other, cross-legged on the ground. Snape had removed his coat now. His odd smock looked less peculiar in the half-light. "And the Ministry can punish you if you do magic outside school. You get letters." "But I have done magic outside school." "We're all right. We haven't got wands yet. They let you off when you're a kid and you can't help it. But once you're 11, he nodded importantly, and they start training you, and you've got to go careful." There was a little silence. Lily had picked up a fallen twig and twirled it in the air, and Harry knew that she was imagining sparks trailing from it. Then she dropped the twig, leaned in toward the boy, and said, "It is real, isn't it? It's not a joke? Petunia says you're lying to me. Petunia says there isn't a Hogwarts. It is real, isn't it?" "It's real for us," said Snape. "Not for her. But we'll get the letter, you and me." "Really?" whispered Lily. "Definitely," said Snape. And even with his poorly cut hair and his odd clothes, he struck an oddly impressive figure sprawled in front of her, brimful of confidence in his destiny. "And will it really come by owl?" Lily whispered. "Normally," said Snape. "But you're Muggle-born, so someone from the school will have to come and explain to your parents." "Does it make a difference, being Muggle-born?" Snape hesitated. His black eyes, eager in the greenish gloom, moved over the pale face, the dark red hair. No, he said. It doesn't make any difference.
If only he kept that mindset.
I think this is who Snape is. This is his truth. He doesn't really believe it does make a difference. Not at his core. But he gets caught up in all that bullshit.
Like, I think he got brainwashed and everything, but I think he, near the end, like, starts to believe it.
Well, what I think happened is, this is his truth. He doesn't really believe it makes any difference. But as he and Lily get pulled further and further apart, and he gets sucked deeper and deeper in, he gets seduced by all of that and buys into it to a certain degree.
Also a good representation of, like, how hatred is taught. Like,
Yeah.
you know, kids just accept each other.
Yeah, Snape at this age, no, he doesn't think so. And I think...
Yeah, no one inherently hates someone else.
No, it's definitely taught.
Well, maybe Petunia. I feel like a lot of people might hate Petunia. She's the one who tattles on everyone in school.
Yeah, probably.
I think I missed this one. I'm excited and sad to reach the Department of Mysteries chapter and see Harry realize all that Voldemort lacks. What makes him weak. His inability to love. Is that the... Which Department of Magic? The Ministry of Magic is that? Or Department of Mysteries chapter. Is that when he, like, goes and sees the prophecy?
Yeah, I think, when he... I think Catherine is talking... Right? Wait. Which...
Up here. Like, missed it. I just
Okay.
was reading through a couple of the ones that we missed.
It's when Voldemort tries to possess Harry and physically can't stand being inside of Harry's mind.
Oh, that's right, with the fight with Dumbledore. Okay.
Yeah,
I remember
that bit.
I forgot about that part. Dan likes the idea that Snape learned because he saw Lily flying off the swing. That'd be kind of cool.
Right? I think Snape got sucked in, but at his core, this is who he is, really. That, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree. I think,
and that's why that memory is so painful.
Yeah, because I think you can contrast Snape with Voldemort very well. They end up kind of on the same side, believing more or less the same thing. Snape, not so much because of, you know, bad things. But Voldemort was very much just bred into him. It was natural. Like, he was a psychopath from the beginning. Snape was a good person and kind of got sucked in with the wrong crowd and learned to be bad. But was not inherently bad.
Right. And I think that, I think that's a lesson here, is you're taught things.
Yeah.
For sure. Look at Regulus Black, who bought every single thing his parents fed him.
Mm-hmm.
But then turned his back on it the moment he really realized what was going on and became a hero.
Exactly. I think Harry can relate as a child who was mistreated, abused, being I was worthy only of Dudley's second-hand clothes. Petunia is treating Snape like scum. Oh, 100% agree.
So he emphasizes as child Harry, not so much because he's warming up to Snape.
I like.
I wonder if Snape ever...
I forget who said it. I mean, it was just like Harry. You know, hand-me-down clothes.
I said it. I said
okay.
This is very much Harry. Good, said Lily, relaxing. It was clear that she'd been worrying. You've got loads of magic, said Snape. I saw that. All the time I was watching you. His voice trailed away. She was not listening, but had stretched out on the leafy ground and was looking up at the canopy of leaves overhead. He watched her as greedily as he'd watched her in the playground. How are things at your house? Lily asked. A little crease appeared between his eyes. Fine, he said. They're not arguing any more? Oh, yes, they're arguing, said Snape. He picked up a fistful of leaves and began tearing them apart, apparently unaware of what he was doing. But it won't be that long and I'll be gone. Doesn't your dad like magic? He doesn't like anything much, said Snape. Severus? A little smile twisted Snape's mouth when she said his name. Yeah. Tell me about the Dementors again. What do you want to know about them for? If I use magic outside school, they won't give you to the Mentors for that. Dementors are for people who do really bad stuff. They guard the wizard prison, Azkaban. You're not going to end up in Azkaban, you're too... He turned red again and shredded more leaves. Then a small rustling noise behind Harry made him turn. Petunia, hiding behind a tree, had lost her footing. Toonie! said Lily, surprise and welcome in her voice, but Snape had jumped to his feet. Who's spying now? He shouted. What do you want? Petunia was breathless, alarmed at being caught. Harry could see her struggling for something hurtful to say. What is that you're wearing anyway? She said, pointing at Snape's chest. Your mum's blouse? There was a crack. A branch over Petunia's head had fallen. Lily screamed. The branch caught Petunia on the shoulder, and she staggered backward and burst into tears. Toonie! But Petunia was running away. Lily rounded on Snape. Did you make that happen? No! He looked both defiant and scared. You did! She was backing away from him. You did! You hurt her! No, I didn't! But the lie did not convince Lily. After one last burning look, she ran from the little thicket, off after a sister, and Snape looked miserable and confused. And the scene reformed. Harry looked round. He was on platform 9 3/4, and Snape stood next to him, slightly hunched, next to a thin, sallow-faced, sour-looking woman who greatly resembled him. Snape was staring at a family of 4 a short distance away. The 2 girls stood a little apart from their parents. Lily seemed to be pleading with her sister. Harry moved closer to listen. I'm sorry, Toonie, I'm sorry. Listen! She caught her sister's hand and held tight to it, even though Petunia tried to pull it away. Maybe once I'm there... No, listen, Toonie. Maybe once I'm there, I'll be able to go to Professor Dumbledore and persuade him to change his mind. I don't want to go, said Petunia, and she dragged her hand back out of her sister's grasp. You think I want to go to some stupid castle and learn to be a... Her pale eyes roved over the platform, over the cats mewling in their owners' arms, over the owls fluttering and hooting at each other in cages, over the students, some already in their long black robes, loading trunks onto the scarlet steam engine, or else greeting one another with glad cries after a summer apart. You think I want to be a freak? Lily's eyes filled with tears as Petunia succeeded in tugging her hand away. I'm not a freak, said Lily. That's a horrible thing to say. That's where you're going, said Petunia with relish. A special school for freaks. You and that Snape boy. Weirdos. That's what you two are. It's good you're being separated from normal people. It's for our safety. Lily glanced toward her parents, who were looking round the platform with an air of wholehearted enjoyment, drinking in the scene. Then she looked back at her sister, and her voice was low and fierce. You didn't think it was such a freak school when you wrote to the headmaster and begged him to take you. Petunia turned scarlet. Beg? I didn't beg.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I saw his reply. It was very kind. You shouldn't have read, whispered Petunia. "That was my private... How could you..." Lily gave herself away by half glancing toward where Snape stood nearby. Petunia gasped. "That boy found it! You and that boy have been sneaking into my room." "No, not sneaking." "Not sneaking, precious." Now Lily was on the defensive. "Severus saw the envelope and he couldn't believe a muggle could have contacted Hogwarts. That's all. He says there must be wizards working uncover in the postal service who take care of..." "Apparently wizards poke their noses in everywhere," said Petunia, now as pale as she had been flushed. "Freak!" she spat at her sister, and she flounced off to where her parents stood. I think this moment kind of reflects what happens with Harry and Ron earlier in the book.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, what does Harry say when they're fighting? Something had broken between them.
Yeah.
In this moment with these sisters, something is broken. And
Oh.
it's never going to
Fully repair itself.
no. It's busted.
Yeah.
But
But Harry and Ron fix things,
they do.
so it's not 100%.
We also echo book 1 here, so doing full hardcore ring composition, ring theory with Petunia calling her sister a freak.
Yeah.
And then in book 1, when Hagrid comes to visit and she says, "I knew you'd be just as strange, just as blah, blah, blah." And then she calls her sister a freak. It's the same thing. And also tells us that when Dumbledore left the letter on her doorstep in book 1 was not the first time that him and Petunia corresponded.
No, maybe they've been pen pals for a while. The branch is a little different than Marge inflating. Oh, man.
Yeah, I feel like the branch is very much like...
Is Petunia Marge? In, like, that future scene where Harry's grown up and he has his kids, if we saw Aunt Petunia, would she look like Aunt Marge now?
Never. Petunia'd never get fat.
I could see it happening.
I can't. No. Petunia would never let
Dudley
herself...
decides that he's okay with wizards, and him and Harry kind of mend their bonds, and Petunia can't take it, so she drowns her sorrows in Big Macs and French fries.
Petunia's dead by the point that they, like...
Oh,
Yeah.
okay then. Never mind.
Yeah. I definitely think the tree branch thing was... The thing about Snape is that there's this whole dichotomy going on of he's drawn to the dark arts and but Lily makes him want to be a better person. I think though in this case it was genuinely like he got pissed off and did some magic.
He was too young to really know what he was doing.
Like he
Yeah, I don't
can't
think he
control
meant
it.
to do that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think it was like an Aunt Marge thing, you know? Harry didn't mean
Yeah,
to
he just
thwart
got
it.
really pissed off. The scene dissolved again. Snape was hurrying along the corridor of the Hogwarts Express as it clattered through the countryside. He'd already changed into his school robes, had perhaps taken the first opportunity to take off his dreadful muggle clothes. At last he stopped, outside a compartment in which a group of rowdy boys were talking. Hunched in a corner seat beside the window was Lily, her face pressed against the window pane. Snape slid open the compartment door and sat down opposite Lily. She glanced at him and then looked back out the window. She'd been crying. "I don't want to talk to you," she said in a constricted voice. "Why not?" "Junie hates me because we saw that letter from Dumbledore." "So what?" She threw him a look of deep dislike. "So she's my sister." "She's only a..." He caught himself quickly. Lily, too busy trying to wipe her eyes without being noticed, did not hear him. "But we're going," he said, unable to suppress the exhilaration in his voice. "This is it. We're off to Hogwarts." She nodded, mopping her eyes, but in spite of herself, she half smiled. "You'd better be in Slytherin," said Snape, encouraged that she'd brightened a little. "Slytherin?" One of the boys sharing the compartment, who'd shown no interest at all in Lily or Snape until that point, looked round at the word, and Harry, whose attention had been focused entirely on the two beside the window, saw his father, slight, black-haired like Snape, but with that indefinable air of having been well cared for, even adored, that Snape so conspicuously lacked. "Who wants to be in Slytherin? I think I'd leave, wouldn't you?" James asked the boy lounging on the seats opposite him, and with a jolt, Harry realised that it was Sirius. Sirius did not smile. "My whole family have been in Slytherin," he said. "Blimey," said James. "And I thought you seemed all right." Sirius grinned. "Maybe I'll break the tradition. Where are you heading for if you had the choice?" James lifted an invisible sword. "Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart, like my dad." Snape made a small disparaging noise. James turned on him. "Got a problem with that?" "No," said Snape, though his slight sneer said otherwise. "If you'd rather be brawny than brainy." "Where are you hoping to go, seeing as you're neither?" interjected Sirius. James roared with laughter. Lily sat up, rather flushed, and looked from James to Sirius in dislike. "Come on, Severus. Let's go find another compartment." "Ooh." James and Sirius imitated her lofty voice. James tried to trip Snape as he passed. "See ya, Snivelus," a voice called as the compartment door slammed, and the scene dissolved once more. Harry was standing right behind Snape as they faced the candle-lit house tables lined with rapt faces. Then Professor McGonagall said, "Evans! Lily!" He watched his mother walk forward on trembling legs and sit down upon the rickety stool. Professor McGonagall dropped the sorting hat onto her head, and barely a second after it touched the dark red hair, the hat cried, "Gryffindor!" Harry heard Snape let out a tiny groan. First of all, adult Snape would never give himself away like that. Ever.
He had to learn his lessons.
Snape is like the master of show no emotion whatsoever. And we are getting all the emotions happening all the time. Lily took off the hat and handed it back to Professor McGonagall, then hurried toward the cheering Gryffindors. But as she went, she glanced back at Snape, and there was a sad little smile on her face. Harry saw Sirius move up to the bench and make room for her. She took one look at him, seemed to recognize him from the train, folded her arms, and firmly turned her back on him. The roll call continued. Harry watched Lupin, Pettigrew, and his father join Lily and Sirius at the Gryffindor table. At last, when only a dozen students remained to be sorted, Professor McGonagall called Snape. Harry walked with him to the stool, watched him place the hat upon his head. "Slytherin!" cried the sorting hat. And Severus Snape moved off to the other side of the hall, away from Lily, to where the Slytherins were cheering him, to where Lucius Malfoy, a prefect badge gleaming upon his chest, patted Snape on the back as he sat down beside him. And the scene changed.
Dun dun dun.
Here the divide already begins.
Well, yeah, I mean, starts early. I mean, it really started as soon as James, shot down Slytherin like that in the train car.
Lily and Snape... Oh, also, I think it's important to notice that Harry is so engrossed in all of this
that he's following Snape around everywhere he goes. Whereas the last time we went into Snape's mind, he tries very desperately to
Follow his dad.
follow his dad the entire time.
Well, you see how that turned out. I mean, he doesn't want to know anything else. You found out his dad was a jerk. He doesn't want to know the extent of being a jerk.
I also think it's very interesting that James is described as having the element of being very well cared for and loved.
Yeah.
And you can tell. And Snape,
Spoiled child.
and Snape is just got neglect written on his forehead.
Total opposites. Basically, a Dudley and a Harry.
Mm-hmm.
James was a Dudley. No. I feel like James appreciated what he had.
Yeah,
At
I
least
mean,
more than
yeah,
Dudley.
James appreciated what he had. He was just
Arrogant about it.
arrogant and spoiled, but not like
And yeah, it's
the
crazy
Gryffindor
to see,
Draco.
It's crazy to see just how cruel and antagonizing James can be.
Mm-hmm.
100%. That's why Harry doesn't want to follow him around, because he doesn't want to see how cruel he can be.
Lily and Snape were walking across the castle courtyard, evidently arguing. Harry hurried to catch up with them, to listen in. As he reached them, he realized how much taller they both were. A few years seemed to have passed since their sorting. "Thought we were supposed to be friends," Snape was saying. "Best friends." "We are, Sev, but I don't like some of the people you're hanging around with. I'm sorry, but I detest Avery and Mulciber. Mulciber? What do you see in him, Sev? He's creepy. Do you know what he tried to do to Mary MacDonald the other day?"
Mary!
Mary MacDonald! Ah! Lily had reached a pillar and leaned against it, looking up into the thin, sallow face. I wrote Mary MacDonald, exclamation point.
The only one who made it out of all the young dudes.
Right? "That was nothing," said Snape. "It was a laugh, that's all." "It was dark magic, and if you think that's funny..." "What about the stuff Potter and his mates get up to?" demanded Snape. His colour rose again as he said it, unable, it seemed, to hold in his resentment. "What has Potter got to do with anything?" said Lily. "They sneak out at night. There's something weird about that Lupin. Where does he keep going?" "He's ill," said Lily. "They say he's ill." "Every month at the full moon," said Snape. "I know your theory," said Lily, and she sounded cold. "Why are you so obsessed with them anyway? Why do you care what they're doing at night?" "I'm just trying to show you they're not as wonderful as everyone seems to think they are." The intensity of his gaze made her blush. "They don't use dark magic, though." She dropped her voice. "And you're being really ungrateful. I heard what happened the other night. You went sneaking down to that tunnel by the Whomping Willow, and James Potter saved you from whatever's down there." Snape's whole face contorted, and he spluttered. Saved? You think he was playing the hero? He was saving his neck and his friends, too. You're not going to... I won't let you... Let me? Let me? Lily's bright green eyes were slits. Snape backtracked at once. "I didn't mean... I just don't want to see you made a fool of. He fancies you. James Potter fancies you." The words seemed wrenched from him against his will. "And he's not. Everyone thinks... Big Quidditch hero." Snape's bitterness and dislike were rendering him incoherent, and Lily's eyebrows were travelling farther and farther up her forehead. "I know James Potter is an arrogant toe-rag," she said, cutting across Snape. "I don't need you to tell me that. But Mulciber's and Avery's idea of humour is just evil. Evil, Sev. I don't understand how you can be friends with them." Sev. Just saying. Anyone who wants to say, "Lily,
was not really friends with Snape. It was more of a she felt bad for him kind of thing. Like, no, that's a term of endearment. It's very much like Toonie.
Yeah, no, who says that she was never really friends? Like, I believe that she was.
I've seen people who are like, she just felt bad for him, and then he was obsessively in love with her, and it was toxic from the beginning, and blah, 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 blah.
Well, that's true. Snape was kind of obsessed. It was a little toxic on that end. But no, I think Lily genuinely appreciated his friendship.
I don't think it was toxic, but there are reasons why I don't think it was toxic. But
it was obsessive.
I think it's deeper than that, than just saying it's obsessive. Harry doubted that Snape had ever heard her strictures on Mulciber and Avery. The moment she had insulted James Potter, his whole body had relaxed, and as they walked away, there was a new spring in Snape's step. I'm like getting stuffy. Snape's step. And the scene dissolved. Harry watched again as Snape left the Great Hall after sitting his OWL in Defence Against the Dark Arts, watched as he wandered away from the castle and strayed inadvertently close to the place between the beech tree where James, Sirius, Lupin and Pettigrew sat together. But Harry kept his distance this time, because he knew what happened after James had hoisted Severus into the air and taunted him. He knew what had been done and said, and it gave him no pleasure to hear it again. He watched as Lily joined the group and went to Snape's defence. Distantly he heard Snape shout at her in his humiliation and his fury, the unforgivable word, mudblood. The scene changed. I'm sorry. I'm not interested. I'm sorry. Save your breath. It was night time. Lily, who was wearing a dressing gown, stood with her arms folded in front of the portrait of the fat lady at the entrance to the Gryffindor Tower. I only came out because Mary told me you were threatening to sleep here. I was. I would have done. I never meant to call you mudblood. It just slipped out. There was no pity in Lily's voice. It's too late. I've made excuses for you for years. None of my friends can understand why I even talk to you. You and your precious little Death Eater friends. You see, you don't even deny it. You don't even deny what you're all aiming to be. You can't wait to join you-know-who, can you? He opened his mouth but closed it without speaking. I can't pretend any more. You've chosen your way. I've chosen mine. No, listen. I didn't mean to call me mudblood. But you call everyone of my birth mudblood, Severus. Why should I be any different? He struggled on the verge of speech, but with a contemptuous look, she turned and climbed back through the portrait hole. And that is why that is Snape's worst memory. Right there. The moment he lost Lily for good.
Yep. No coming back from that.
No. The corridor dissolved and the scene took a little longer to reform. Harry seemed to fly through shifting shapes and colours until his surroundings solidified again, and he stood on a hilltop, forlorn and cold in the darkness, the wind whistling through the branches of a few leafless trees. The adult Snape was panting, turning on the spot, his wand gripped tightly in his hand, waiting for something, or someone. His fear infected Harry too, even though he knew that he could not be harmed, and he looked over his shoulder, wondering what it was that Snape had been waiting for. Then a blinding, jagged jet of white light flew through the air. Harry thought of lightning, but Snape had dropped to his knees and his wand had flown out of his hand. Don't kill me. That was not my intention. Any sound of Dumbledore apparating had been drowned by the sound of the wind in the branches. He stood before Snape with his robes whipping round him, and his face was illuminated from below in the light cast by his wand. Well, Severus, what message does Lord Voldemort have for me? No message. I am here on my own account. Snape was wringing his hands. He looked a little mad, with his straggling black hair flying round him. I come with a warning. No, a request. Please. Dumbledore flicked his wand. Though leaves and branches still flew through the night air round them, silence fell on the spot where he and Snape faced each other.
It's about to go down.
What request could a Death Eater make of me? The prophecy. The prediction. Trelawney. Ah, yes, said Dumbledore. How much did you relay to Lord Voldemort? Everything. Everything I heard, said Snape. That is why. It is for that reason. He thinks it means Lily Evans. The prophecy did not refer to a woman, said Dumbledore. It spoke of a boy born at the end of July. You know what I mean. He thinks it means her son. He's going to hunt her down. Kill them all. If she means so much to you, said Dumbledore, surely Lord Voldemort could spare her. Could you not ask for mercy for the mother in exchange for the son? I have asked him. You disgust me, said Dumbledore, and Harry had never heard so much contempt in his voice. Snape seemed to shrink a little. You do not care, then, about the deaths of her husband and child? They can die as long as you have what you want? Snape said nothing, but merely looked up at Dumbledore. Hide them all, then, he croaked. Keep them safe, please. And what will you give me in return, Severus? In return? Snape gaped at Dumbledore, and Harry expected him to protest, but after a long moment he said, anything. The hilltop faded, and Harry stood in Dumbledore's office, and something was making a terrible sound, like a wounded animal. Snape was slumped forward in a chair, and Dumbledore was standing over him, looking grim. After a moment or two, Snape raised his face, and he looked like a man who'd lived 100 years of misery since leaving the wild hilltop. I thought you were going to keep her safe. She and James put their faith in the wrong person, said Dumbledore. Rather like you, Severus. Weren't you hoping that Lord Voldemort would spare her? Snape's breathing was shallow. Her boy survives, said Dumbledore. With a tiny jerk of the head, Snape seemed to flick off an irksome fly. Her son lives. He has her eyes. Precisely her eyes. You remember the shape and colour of Lily Evans's eyes, I am sure. Don't! Bellowed Snape. Gone. Dead. Is this remorse, Severus? I wish I were dead. And what use would that be to anyone? Said Dumbledore coldly. If you loved Lily Evans, if you truly loved her, then your way forward is clear. Snape seemed to peer through a haze of pain, and Dumbledore's words seemed to take a long time to reach him. What do you mean? You know how and why she died. Make sure it was not in vain. Help me protect Lily's son. He does not need protection. The Dark Lord is gone. The Dark Lord will return, and Harry Potter will be in grave danger when he does. There was a long pause, and slowly Snape regained control of himself, mastering his own breathing. At last he said, Very well, but never tell Dumbledore. This must be between us. Swear it. I cannot bear, especially Potter's son. I want your word. This part gets me every time. My word, Severus, that I shall never reveal the best of you? Dumbledore sighed, looking down into Snape's ferocious, anguished face. If you insist, Ah, every time. Dumbledore. God. The office dissolved but reformed instantly. Snape was pacing up and down in front of Dumbledore. Mediocre. Arrogant as his father. A determined rule-breaker. Delighted to find himself famous. Attention-seeking and impertinent. You see what you expect to see, Severus, said Dumbledore, without raising his eyes from a copy of Transfiguration Today. Other teachers report that the boy is modest, likeable, and reasonably talented. Personally, I find him an engaging child. Dumbledore turned a page and said without looking up, Keep an eye on Quirrell, will you? I just wrote, ha.
Doesn't tell him why, just, yeah, by the way, Quirrell.
Look, keep an eye on that dude. A whirl of colour, and now everything darkened, and Snape and Dumbledore stood a little apart in the entrance hall, while the last stragglers from the Yule Ball passed them on their way to bed. Well? Murmured Dumbledore. Karkaroff's mark is becoming darker too. He's panicking. He fears retribution. You know how much help he gave the Ministry after the Dark Lord fell. Snape looked sideways at Dumbledore's crooked-nosed profile. Karkaroff intends to flee if the dark mark burns. Does he? Said Dumbledore softly, as Fleur Delacour and Roger Davies came giggling in from the grounds. And are you tempted to join him? Wow, Fleur and Roger Davies spent a hell of a long time in them bushes. Just saying.
Go Davies.
Think he can produce a foal?
Apparently.
Ooh.
Dumbledore can be manipulative at times, especially when he emphasizes Harry's having Lily's eyes. Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Dumbledore
Could have very easily been the Voldemort of the story had his sister not been the way she was.
That's the whole
tragic
point,
events.
is Dumbledore learned he is not to be trusted with power.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, you know, that's kind of scary to think. An alternate universe, if Dumbledore had chosen the path that Voldemort chose, I think we might have been screwed. He actually thinks things through before he does it.
Voldemort thinks things through. He's just really arrogant.
He thinks them through as far as it will get him. He doesn't
Yeah.
think about anything else.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I mean. That's it.
Dumbledore plans everything out.
He's yeah.
Not that he hasn't made mistakes, but much more
Well,
knowledgeable.
and he says when he makes mistakes, they're much bigger than the normal person's.
That's true.
And are you tempted to join him? No, said Snape, his black eyes on Fleur's and Roger's retreating figures. I am not such a coward. Coward, there it is, the trigger word for Snape. When Half-Blood Prince, when Harry calls him a coward and Snape like screams at him that he is not a coward.
Mm.
Because he's been playing the most dangerous dance of them all. Riding that razor's edge.
Yep.
Being a spy. Don't fucking call Snape a coward. Call him what you like, but don't call him a coward. No way.
Call him Neville's grandmother if you want, but damn you if you call him a coward.
I am not such a coward. No, agreed Dumbledore. You are a braver man by far than Igor Karkaroff. You know, I sometimes think we sought too soon. He walked away, leaving Snape looking stricken. God, imagine if Snape had been sorted later. Would he be a Ravenclaw, maybe? A Gryffindor? And now Harry stood in the headmaster's office yet again. It was night-time, and Dumbledore sagged sideways in the throne-like chair behind the desk, apparently semi-conscious. His right hand dangled over the side, blackened and burned. Snape was muttering incantations, pointing his wand at the wrist of the hand, while with his left hand he tipped a goblet full of thick golden potion down Dumbledore's throat. After a moment or two, Dumbledore's eyelids fluttered and opened. Why? said Snape without preamble. "Why did you put on that ring? It carries a curse. Surely you realize that. Why even touch it?" Marvolo Gaunt's ring lay on the desk before Dumbledore. It was cracked. The sword of Gryffindor lay beside it. Dumbledore grimaced. "I was a fool, sorely tempted." Tempted by what? Dumbledore did not answer. But we will get the answer in the King's Cross chapter as to why. "It's a miracle you managed to return here." Snape sounded furious. "That ring carried a curse of extraordinary power. To contain it is all we can hope for. I've trapped the curse in one hand for the time being." Dumbledore raised his blackened, useless hand and examined it with the expression of one being shown an interesting curio. "You've done well, Severus. How long do you think I have?" Dumbledore's tone was conversational. He might have been asking for a weather forecast. Snape hesitated and then said, "I cannot tell. Maybe a year. There is no halting such a spell forever. It will spread eventually. It is the sort of curse that strengthens over time." Dumbledore smiled. The news that he had less than a year to live seemed a matter of little or no concern to him. "I am fortunate, extremely fortunate, that I have you, Severus. If you had only summoned me a little earlier, I might have been able to do more, buy you more time," said Snape furiously. He looked down at the broken ring and the sword. "Did you think that breaking the ring would break the curse?" "Something like that. I was delirious, no doubt," said Dumbledore. With an effort, he straightened himself in his chair. "Well, really, this makes matters much more straightforward." Snape looked utterly perplexed. Dumbledore smiled. "I refer to the plan Lord Voldemort is revolving around me. His plan to have the poor Malfoy boy murder me." Snape sat down in the chair Harry had so often occupied, across the desk from Dumbledore. Harry could tell he wanted to say more on the subject of Dumbledore's cursed hand, but the other held it up in polite refusal to discuss the matter further. Scowling, Snape said, "The Dark Lord does not expect Draco to succeed. This is merely punishment for Lucius's recent failures. Slow torture for Draco's parents, while they watch him fail and pay the price." "In short, the boy has a death sentence pronounced upon him as surely as I have," said Dumbledore. "Now, I should have thought that the natural successor to the job, once Draco fails, is yourself." There was a short pause. "That, I think, is the Dark Lord's plan." "Lord Voldemort foresees a moment in the near future when he will not need a spy at Hogwarts." "He believes the school will soon be in his grasp, yes." "And if it does fall into his grasp," said Dumbledore, almost as it seemed as an aside, "I have your word that you will do all in your power to protect the students of Hogwarts?" Snape gave a stiff nod. "Good. Now then, your first priority will be to discover what Draco is up to. A frightened teenage boy is a danger to others as well as to himself. Offer him help and guidance. He ought to accept. He likes you." "Much less since his father has lost favour. Draco blames me. He thinks I have usurped Lucius's position." "All the same, try. I am concerned less for myself than for accidental victims of whatever schemes might occur to the boy. Ultimately, of course, there is only one thing to be done if we are to save him from Lord Voldemort's wrath." Snape raised his eyebrows and his tone was sardonic as he asked, "Are you intending to let him kill you?" "Certainly not. You must kill me." Can I also just say, what a great line. Teenage boy is not just a danger to himself, but to others.
It's one of the truest statements ever.
This chapter is so long.
But so worth it.
Can you just
And this
reading all these reveals over and over and over? Oh, keep an eye on Quirrell. Oh, by the way, Draco is totally up to something, and we're just gonna let it unfold. Oh, also, by the way, kill me. We get the final reveal, right?
Draco's up to something. If anything happens to me, watch out for Hogwarts. By
Yeah.
the way, do you mind, killing me at some point? Good news is I won't be here to tell you what to do anymore.
There was a long silence, broken only by an odd clicking noise. Fawkes the Phoenix was gnawing a bit of cuddlebone. "Would you like me to do it now?" asked Snape, his voice heavy with irony. "Or would you like a few minutes to compose an epitaph?" "Oh, not quite yet," said Dumbledore, smiling. "I dare say the moment will present itself in due course. Given what has happened tonight," he indicated his withered hand, "we can be sure that it will happen within a year." "If you don't mind dying," said Snape roughly, "why not let Draco do it?" "That boy's soul is not yet so damaged," said Dumbledore. "I would not have it ripped apart on my account." "And my soul, Dumbledore? Mine?"
What about yours, Snape?
"You alone know whether it will harm your soul to help an old man avoid pain and humiliation," said Dumbledore. "I ask this one great favour of you, Severus, because death is coming for me as surely as the Chudley Cannons will finish bottom of this year's league. I confess I should prefer a quick, painless exit to the protracted and messy affair it will be if, for instance, Greyback is involved. I hear Voldemort has recruited him. Or dear Bellatrix, who likes to play with her food before she eats it." His tone was light, but his blue eyes pierced Snape as they had frequently pierced Harry, as though the soul they discussed was visible to him. At last Snape gave another curt nod. Dumbledore seemed satisfied. "Thank you, Severus."
Dumbledore just talked about how awful it would be to die to Greyback, and we were talking about Lavender Brown. Didn't Greyback kill Lavender Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ouch.
Tough look for our dude Greyback.
Yeah.
The office disappeared, and now Snape and Dumbledore were strolling together in the deserted castle grounds by twilight. "What are you doing with Potter? All these evenings you are closeted together?" Snape asked abruptly. Dumbledore looked weary. "Why, you aren't trying to give him more detention, Severus. The boy will sooner spend more time in detention than out." "He is his father again." "In looks, perhaps, but his deepest nature is much more like his mother's. I spend time with Harry because I have things to discuss with him, information I must give him before it's too late." "Information," repeated Snape. "You trust him. You do not trust me." "It is not a question of trust. I have, as we both know, limited time. It is essential that I give the boy enough information for him to do what he needs to do." "And why may I not have the same information?" "I prefer not to put all of my secrets in one basket, particularly not a basket that spends so much time dangling on the arm of Lord Voldemort." "Which I do on your orders."
Reminds me of Love Island. "Oh, my eggs are in your basket." Yeah, terrible.
Okay. Take your word for that.
"And you do it extremely well. Do not think that I underestimate the constant danger in which you place yourself, Severus. To give Voldemort what appears to be valuable information while withholding the essentials is a job I would entrust to nobody but you." "Yet you confide much more in a boy who is incapable of occlumency, whose magic is mediocre, and who has a direct connection into the Dark Lord's mind."
Also, just saying, this has shades of, like, Harry being pissed off in Book 5 because Dumbledore won't tell him anything.
Yeah.
And Harry earlier where he's like, Dumbledore didn't trust me with any information.
Dumbledore didn't say anything to me. Snape is literally doing the same thing, but to Dumbledore's face.
I think someone said at some point that teenage Snape was like an angry Harry.
Yeah, they have some things in common.
Just Snape's caps lock was stuck on.
Voldemort fears that connection, said Dumbledore. Not so long ago he had one small taste of what truly shattering Harry's mind means to him. It was a pain as such as he has never experienced. He will not try to possess Harry again. I am sure of it. Not in that way. I don't understand. Lord Voldemort's soul, maimed as it is, cannot bear close contact with a soul like Harry's. Like a tongue on frozen steel, like flesh in flame. Souls? We are talking of minds. In the case of Harry and Lord Voldemort, to speak of one is to speak of the other. Horcrux. Clue. Right there.
Can never just come out and say it, can you, Dumbledore?
Nope.
Riddle
Dumbledore
me this.
Dumbledore glanced round to make sure that they were alone. They were close to the Forbidden Forest now, but there was no sign of anyone near them. After you have killed me, Severus. You refuse to tell me everything, yet you expect the small service of me, snarled Snape, and real anger flared in the thin face now. You take a great deal for granted, Dumbledore. Perhaps I have changed my mind. Harry literally says this earlier in the book. You tell me nothing, but you expect everything of me. Trust me, but I don't trust you. Do this, even though I give you no information. It's literally Snape, like, repeating what Harry says earlier in the book about Dumbledore. When he reads Life and Lies, and he finds out Dumbledore was, like, friends with Grindelwald. And Hermione is like, he was young, it wasn't a big deal. And he's like, I didn't even know this guy. He didn't tell me shit.
You didn't ask, Harry.
You
should have asked. Actually, I think he did ask quite a lot.
Yeah, he asked a lot of questions, and Dumbledore straight up did not tell him shit. Like, Dumbledore purposefully left shit out.
He wasn't asking the right questions.
No, You gave me your word, Severus, and while we are talking about services you owe me, I thought you agreed to keep a close eye on our young Slytherin friend. Snape looked angry, mutinous. Dumbledore sighed. Come to my office tonight, Severus, at 11, and you shall not complain that I have no confidence in you. They were back in Dumbledore's office, the windows dark, and Fawkes sat silent as Snape sat quite still as Dumbledore walked round him, talking. Harry must not know, not until the last moment, not until it is necessary. Otherwise, how could he have the strength to do what must be done? But what must he do? That is between Harry and me. Now listen closely, Severus. There will come a time, after my death, do not argue, do not interrupt. There will come a time when Lord Voldemort will seem to fear for the life of his snake. For Nagini? Snape looked astonished. Precisely. If there comes a time when Lord Voldemort stops sending that snake forth to do his bidding, but keeps it safe beside him under magical protection, then I think it will be safe to tell Harry. Tell him what? Dumbledore took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Tell him that on the night Lord Voldemort tried to kill him, when Lily cast her own life between them as a shield, the killing curse rebounded upon Lord Voldemort, and a fragment of Voldemort's soul was blasted apart from the whole, and latched itself on to the only living soul left in that collapsing building. Part of Lord Voldemort lives inside Harry, and it is that which gives him the power of speech with snakes, and a connection with Lord Voldemort's mind that he has never understood. And while that fragment of soul, unmissed by Voldemort, remains attached to and protected by Harry, Lord Voldemort cannot die. Harry seemed to be watching the two men from one end of a long tunnel. They were so far away from him, their voices echoing strangely in his ears. So the boy must die, asked Snape quite calmly. And Voldemort himself must do it, Severus. That is essential. Another long silence. Then Snape said, I thought all these years that we were protecting him. For her. For Lily. We have protected him because it has been essential to teach him, to raise him, to let him try his strength, said Dumbledore, his eyes still tight shut. Meanwhile, the connection between them grows ever stronger, a parasitic growth. Sometimes I have thought he suspects it himself. If I know him, he will have arranged matters so that when he does set out to meet his death, it will truly mean the end of Voldemort. Dumbledore opened his eyes. Snape looked horrified. You have kept him alive so that he can die at the right moment? Don't be shocked, Severus. How many men and women have you watched die? Lately only those whom I could not save, said Snape. He stood up. You have used me. Meaning? I have spied for you and lied for you, put myself in mortal danger for you. Everything was supposed to keep Lily Potter's son safe. Now you tell me you've been raising him like a pig for slaughter. But this is touching, Severus, said Dumbledore seriously. Have you grown to care for the boy, after all? For him? Shouted Snape. Expecto Patronum! From the tip of his wand burst the silver doe. She landed on the office floor, bounded once across the office, and soared out of the window. Dumbledore watched her fly away, and as her silvery glow faded, he turned back to Snape, and his eyes were full of tears. After all this time? Always, said Snape. Wow, that ruined it.
I was going to say, Lord, way to ruin the moment. That's when you want to play.
After all this time? Always, said Snape. And the scene shifted. Now Harry...
She waited this time.
Now Harry saw Snape talking to the portrait of Dumbledore behind his desk. You will have to give Voldemort the correct date of Harry's departure from his aunt and uncle's, said Dumbledore. Not to do so will raise suspicion when Voldemort believes you so well informed. However, you must plant the idea of decoys. That, I think, ought to secure Harry's safety. Try confunding Mundungus Fletcher. And Severus, if you are forced to take part in the chase, be sure to act your part convincingly. I am counting upon you to remain in Lord Voldemort's good books as long as possible, or Hogwarts will be left to the mercy of the Carrows. Now Snape was head-to-head with Mundungus in an unfamiliar tavern, Mundungus's face looking curiously blank, Snape frowning in concentration. You will suggest to the Order of the Phoenix, Snape muttered, that they use decoys, polyjuice potion, identical Potters. It is the only thing that might work. You will forget that I have suggested this. You will present it as your own idea. You understand? I understand, murmured Mundungus, his eyes unfocused. Now Harry was flying alongside Snape on a broomstick through a dark, clear night. He was accompanied by other hooded Death Eaters, and ahead were Lupin and a Harry who was really George. A Death Eater moved ahead of Snape and raised his wand, pointing it directly at Lupin's back. Sectum Sempra! Shouted Snape. But the spell, intended for the Death Eater's wand hand, missed and hit George instead. And next, Snape was kneeling in Sirius's old bedroom. Tears were dripping from the end of his hooked nose as he read the old letter from Lily. The second page carried only a few words. Could ever have been friends with Gellert Grindelwald. I think her mind's going, personally. Lots of love, Lily. Snape took the page bearing Lily's signature and her love and tucked it inside his robes. Then he ripped in two the photograph he was also holding, so that he kept the part from which Lily laughed, throwing the portion showing James and Harry back onto the floor, under the chest of drawers. And now Snape stood again in the headmaster's study as Phineas Nigellus came hurrying into his portrait. "Headmaster! They are camping in the Forest of Dean. The mudblood—" "Do not use that word." "The Granger girl, then. Mention the place as she opened her bag, and I heard her." "Good. Good. Very good," cried the portrait of Dumbledore behind the headmaster's chair. "Now, Severus, the sword. Do not forget that it must be taken under conditions of need and valor, and he must not know that you give it. If Voldemort should read Harry's mind and see you acting for him—" "I know," said Snape curtly. He approached the portrait of Dumbledore and pulled it at its side. It swung forward, revealing a hidden cavity behind it, from which he took the sword of Gryffindor. "And you still aren't going to tell me why it's so important to give Potter the sword?" said Snape as he swung a travelling cloak over his robes. "No, I don't think so," said Dumbledore's portrait. Fucking Dumbledore. "He will know what to do with it. And Severus, be very careful. They may not take kindly to your appearance after George Weasley's mishap." Snape turned at the door. "Don't worry, Dumbledore," he said coolly. "I have a plan." And Snape left the room. Harry rose up out of the pensieve, and moments later he lay on the carpeted floor in exactly the same room. Snape might have just closed the door.
That artist got Dumbledore down. No, I don't think I will.
Right? Are you going to tell me anything? No, I don't think so. I'm going to keep that shit to myself. Thank you very much.
You gotta end the heavy chapter with a little comic relief.
Fucking iconic Dumbledore. Essential Dumbledore. Well, are you going to tell me? No.
Hey, Vane, how's it going? I am sorry to hear that you're sad. Hope everything works out, whatever's going on.
Lily could have viewed Snape potentially romantically if he had not messed it up.
Yeah, things could have been different.
Things could definitely have been different, and J.K. Rowling herself has said as much. But it all comes down to choices.
Little Harry Snape.
Little Harry Snape.
Oh, man, I can't say that with a straight face. Harry Snape.
He could have been.
He could have been.
But, again, this book is all about
okay.
choices.
Wait. I misread that. Then I'm glad that's all you're sad about.
I feel like there was so much more we could have talked about in this chapter.
Well, what else would you want to talk about?
I'd have to do like a full entire breakdown of the entire thing.
That's what we're doing.
I know, but like, write it all out. I just wrote little like sticky notes with little notes on them. Like
the way you're saying, you could like write an entire essay on this chapter.
I could. Yeah.
Maybe you should sometime. I mean, there definitely is a lot in this chapter. I mean, it's Snape's entire story.
It is. And I'm just like...
just like a little tidbit of information here, there.
I read this chapter and I'm just like... Holy crap, just blown away. Every time. Wow. Wow.
Go back up, because I know we had a lot of comments. There was no real place to stop and talk about it, because it got intense at the end. Oh yeah, so would amputation have helped? Since Snape says that he, locked the curse into his one arm.
No, because he locked it with magic.
Yeah, but then, you cut it off, throw it away.
It's
Yeah,
magic.
the sword of Gryffindor there, that thing's probably sharp, just a little slice and dice. And...
Yeah, but that's a muggle solution to a magical problem. That doesn't mean it's going to work.
Worth a try.
It's not going to work.
Hold very still, Dumbledore.
No, that wouldn't work.
I've never done this before, so don't move.
That wouldn't work. Amputation wouldn't work.
Tom was abandoned as a child and felt he couldn't count on anyone. If his parents abandoned him, why would anyone else remain? Why should he trust anyone else?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Could definitely see that as the start of Voldemort's lack of wanting to trust anyone.
Yeah, I don't think the orphanage was a great place for him to deal with his feelings in a healthy way.
No.
Work through his troubles.
No.
Just saying.
Definitely not. It just nurtured his psychopathic tendencies.
Dumbledore would have been poisoned by the sword.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
But think the sword would have then leached off the power of the stone. Well, the curse at least. Would have been an unbeatable sword at that point.
Pretty much is an unbeatable sword, though.
Yeah, but just beef it up a little bit more. You already got a poison enchantment on it. Let's go to curse.
It's venom, not poison.
Fine. I do that too, so I will accept your criticism on that. It was venom. It's a magical sword for a magical arm. Why not? Thank you. Yes. Perfect. The defense I needed. Magical sword, magical arm.
I think if that would have worked, Snape would have done it.
Or maybe Snape just wanted Dumbledore to die. He had enough. He was over it.
I don't think so. By that point, are you kidding? He's like so upset about it.
Maybe he was just tired and didn't think of it at the time. By the time he thought of it, the curse started spreading elsewhere, so he's like, no point now.
Not Snape. Snape's too logical. Also, just shout out to Snape for being like, Lupin's a werewolf, and no one believing him. Lily, he's going somewhere on the full moon every month, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I heard your theory. Well, that's a good one! It checks out! She's just like talking to him like he's fucking crazy.
What are the chances? Or maybe she knew at this point. Wasn't she like hanging out with the Marauders at this point?
Because this was after James saved his life.
Yeah.
So I don't think she would have known at that point.
Oh, okay. So never mind. Yeah, it's kind of,
yeah, Muggle techniques do not work on magical wounds. Period.
Stem stitches after his venomous snake bite, and they make it work. That's true, but it's not like treating it. It's just getting rid of it. You're not treating the arm. You're just getting rid of the arm.
The curse is still gonna. No. It would not work.
Okay.
It would not work. His person is cursed. Not just his hand. It's a curse that's going to, like, travel up his body. He's cursed. His body, like, he himself is cursed. Not just his hand. Snape stops it from, like, manifesting. But, like, Dumbledore is cursed.
Okay, fair.
Cutting off the body part wouldn't make a difference.
Fair enough.
He'd still be cursed. It would just start manifesting at whatever point, like, get chopped off.
Might slow it down. But
that's what Snape did with the spells. He slowed it down.
Could have slowed it down more.
No! How would that have slowed it down more?
Although
what if it would have made it worse?
I bet you Dumbledore had a great time that Halloween with that arm, the black arm. Oh. It's last year, you know, live it up. Remus is obviously in mess and different. Extended beyond the arm. Yeah, okay. The curse extended beyond the arm. Got it. He's totally cursed. Probably take over faster without the arm.
It could.
Maybe.
It could. You don't know.
That's true. I don't. I'm not a wizard. At least as far as I can tell people. Why did it have to be Voldy to destroy the Horcrux in Harry? That's a good question. Maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna leave this up to you. Actually, I'm not even gonna try.
No, I want you to try.
No, I got nothing.
You gotta try because I gotta go to the bathroom.
Because he is. It's attached to Harry's soul, and the only way to destroy a soul is to kill the person. So you need. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, it's.
Did you pay attention when I read you these books? Like what?
Yes, but I don't remember why Voldy himself has to do it. Why, like, someone else killing him wouldn't have, done the trick. Oh yeah, Harry had to sacrifice himself. I thought that was for the love magic. I mean, yeah, I guess. I feel like I'm looking at it from the wrong perspective. It's that Harry has to sacrifice himself, and not that Voldy had to kill him. But then again, why couldn't he just sacrifice himself to someone else? I don't know. There's my bad answer. And once Lex comes out, you'll get the good answer. And most likely the correct answer. Yeah, I agree, Catherine. That's kind of how I feel about Snape. Like, he's cruel and unforgivable, but he still has a good side. Just because he's a bad guy doesn't mean he's a bad guy. But he's still a bad guy. What if Dumbledore had McGonagall instead of Snape there to confront the curse? Later, working Dumbledore. I want to believe that McGonagall probably couldn't do it. I don't see McGonagall doing any of the stuff that Snape did. There's no way. I mean, maybe that's it, since it's a soul, and you can't exactly stab Harry. I mean, obviously the Basilisk Fang didn't work on Harry and destroying the Horcrux, so maybe outside of like other magical creatures, the person who created the Horcrux has to destroy it. Wait, did you walk away? Alright, I'm sure she's coming back.
Yeah, I have to watch.
I think she's powerful enough but I don't think she would do it. Like, morally, I don't think she could do it. I think she would like say she just knew, especially with the whole like leading Harry to his death. I think McGonagall would have just straight up been like, "Screw you, Dumbledore, not doing it." Not to mention, that's McGonagall's golden ticket for her Quidditch betting addiction. It's not going to give that up. Come on.
Snape does it because...
Here we go. Good answer coming up.
Snape does it because he's made this promise to protect Lily's son above and beyond whatever that means. Snape committed a sin which he can never forgive himself for, inadvertently leading the Dark Lord to Lily and her death, and he forever will do anything in his power to correct that wrong, no matter what it is. That's why Dumbledore trusted Snape beyond anyone else, because he knew Snape had this remorse that's very similar to the remorse that Dumbledore has. Dumbledore's resolve to do good comes from the same remorse of the unforgivable sin that he committed.
Allegedly.
Getting lost in the craziness of Gellert Grindelwald and losing his family. It's the same kind of agony. He sees that in Snape, and he knows that when Snape makes that conviction, that when Snape makes that decision, and why he makes that decision, Dumbledore knows he'll stick to it, because Dumbledore knows how that feels. They share that in and of each other, and that it's almost like more love magic bond there.
All right. Question number 1 answered. Question number 2.
What was question number 2?
Why did Voldemort have to kill Harry?
Why did it have to be Voldemort to kill Harry?
Yeah.
What has everyone else been saying about that?
Not really much, actually. Because anyone can destroy a Horcrux.
I'm just curious.
What is it? What's the answer? We've been dangling out here long enough. You gotta let us know. Why? What? Are you looking it up? Do you not know? Where are you looking?
I was checking.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure.
Okay. Voldemort has to kill Harry. Number 1, because the love magic that is in Harry, Voldemort inadvertently used to bring his own body back, so they're bound together by that.
Yeah.
So, number 1. Number 2, the prophecy did state one cannot live while the other survives. Number 3, Harry, you gotta think back to like other times. Harry was almost killed by something that could kill a Horcrux. But Phoenix Tear saved him.
Yeah.
So there's that too. He's got a little bit of that Phoenix residue, so maybe the Basilisk Venom like wouldn't work.
Is that really like a thing? Does he have
That's a possibility.
Phoenix Tear residue?
It has to be Voldemort because of the love magic binding. When Voldemort brought himself back to life. Or brought his body back, I guess. Not brought himself back to life. He bound himself to Harry in that way via the love magic protection, and that is why Voldemort has to be the one to kill Harry.
So what if someone else killed Harry?
You might just...
What if Greyback would have, jumped out of nowhere and just that's it?
Then maybe the part of the soul would have tried to latch onto something else.
Voldy latching on to Greyback.
No.
Throw the container. What, does that ruin it for you? So it's just a love magic, that's it?
Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Like, if anyone else killed Harry, they would have just killed Harry. It's that magic binding them together.
But what if they killed him with a magical object? Like, what if someone killed him with the Sword of Gryffindor? Just skewered him.
Why are you doing this to me? It would have just killed Harry. It wouldn't have...
But it's a magical weapon.
Harry is also a living Horcrux. So, he's got his own soul in there with the piece of soul that makes the rules a little bit different. Harry's not an object.
No one said he was.
Well, then why would the
Unless
rules
you're
be the
Ginny.
same? Oh, well. I did not need to think about that. But... Love magic. That's such a logical... I can't tell if that's sarcasm or not.
I'm just going to say yes. It have not been dropped, also protecting Harry from death. Well, no, the stone doesn't protect Harry from death. It just lets Harry see beyond the veil. Or maybe it's just a really good psychedelic and he totally hallucinated all that.
But just because it's happening inside your head, does that make it any less real?
What if Neville killed Harry instead of Nagini? That's so funny because that just seems like something Neville would do. This is Neville's moment. He's gonna hack off Nagini's head and the sword just slips and slices Harry.
Right, Hermione discusses the sword killing the body but not damaging the soul.
Okay, fair. Forgot about that part.
It is the best answer. Because
as funny as that is, if Neville killed Harry instead of Nagini, it wouldn't have changed anything because the Horcrux would have been dead at that point. Because it was just Harry. Harry was free.
Yeah, but then
Harry was a free wizard.
But
Voldemort gave him Harry's sock.
It's the love magic.
In the form of a killing curse.
No, the stone doesn't protect him, but it should have protected him. Harry should have kept it. I think that's a failure to... No! The stone... All the stone is supposed to do is to give Harry the realization that... I might get a little upset about that. I'm going to get teary-eyed. The stone shows him his loved ones and helps him to realize that even though they've died, they haven't really left him, that they're there with him and give him the strength to sacrifice himself. That is all the stone is there for. Is to show Harry, like, that these people that he loves, they've died, but they're not truly gone. They're like the, quote at the very beginning says, "Death is but crossing the world as friends do the seas. They live in one another still." That's the point of the stone. The stone is there to simply give him the strength he needs to sacrifice himself. to show
Yes.
him Sirius is with me, they're all with me. And that death is nothing to be afraid of, but something to walk into with arms wide open and accept that it's okay to die. That's what the stone is for. That is what makes him the master of the Hallows.
That's heavy. But on a lighter note, I do like to think about someone just walking through the forest one day and tripping and falling over and putting their hand on the stone, and all of a sudden they're surrounded by dead people.
Rowling said in an interview that she doesn't think the stone will ever be found. Because Harry drops it on the ground, and then it's stepped on and trampled down into the earth by lots of magical creatures and this and that, and that it's just gone.
Dinosaur bones stuck deep down into the earth, but we still find them from time to time.
Who knows Harry had it, though?
No, I'm not saying they're going to go looking for it. I'm just saying some random hiker is going to be going through the woods and kick up some dirt one day, and all of a sudden, he sees dead people.
Well, it wouldn't just be random dead people. It's not how it works.
Exactly, randomly found 100 years later.
It doesn't show you random dead people.
Well, no, but still see dead people. I mean, you'd know the dead people, but they're still dead. It's even worse because then you know they're dead. And you shouldn't be seeing them.
Yeah, but they don't look like in the flesh. 100%.
No, but you know they're dead.
Wouldn't think to try and use it for something like seeing dead relatives. Well, I mean, that's, I think, what it was created for. I mean, the Tale of the Three Brothers says that the one brother created it so he could bring his love back to life, but it didn't work, and it was just a pale imitation, and that he kept her around for forever, and she's miserable.
Yeah, pretty much. This death, those tricky little loopholes.
Can't bring anyone back from the dead. It's one of the big rules of magic that they talk about in this series over and over again. Can't bring people back from the dead.
Mostly.
Literally.
In theory.
They're
and then
not-
you can still see dead people.
But their bodies. They're not the person. They're just like a zombie.
Maybe if you use the stone alongside an inferi, it give body to the soul.
No.
Oh, I could be a good dark wizard.
But it wouldn't work.
I'd make it work.
How would you make it work?
I don't know.
It's not their soul, though.
Fair enough. Fair enough. 100 years found it, they would think it was just stone. Well, yeah, they think it's just stone. I don't know if you actually have to... Do you have to try to use it? I thought it was just when you hold it, like, the magical effects just happen.
Yeah, Harry just holds it, and it happens.
So it's not... The stone isn't something you, like, choose to use. It's just... When you have it in your hands, it happens. Unusual stone for the area. It would be an unusual stone, that's for sure. Look all pretty. Someone put it in a necklace.
I mean, someone put it in a ring.
Oh, Tom, welcome.
I'm just
The necromancer.
saying, it's a tiny little stone in the middle of the deepest parts of the Forbidden Forest where people don't go.
Hagrid goes. Oh my god, Hagrid's gonna...
No. Are you fucking Hagrid's gonna find it? No, he's not.
He's the one who
No,
spends
he's
most
not.
time out there.
Yeah, he's not gonna fucking see it.
Maybe Grop will.
Yeah, okay. Not even. Grop? Are you kidding? Grop couldn't even pick it up.
I think that was just a movie thing, him spinning it, right?
It's a movie thing. I mean, I can double check, but...
I go to you for confirmation on this.
That's what I mean. Hagrid is not gonna fucking pay attention.
Didn't Snape define what Inferi were when he asked what the difference between Inferi and Ghost were? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They're like exact opposites. The ghosts are the souls without the body, and then the Inferi are just bodies without a soul. Controlled by magic.
Oh no, it says he closed his eyes and turned the stone over in his hand 3 times.
Never mind, there goes my whole pitch.
I know that in the book, though, Harry is like, well, ghosts are transparent and see-through, and Inferi aren't, and Snape, like, shits on him for that. Because,
He's
honestly,
not wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, no duh, Harry. Like, really, dude?
So.
I love that we're reading The Prince's Tale. We read The Prince's Tale, and they're all just like, what's the deal with the stone? What is with the
It's kind of part of the chapter, because we hear about the and Snape having to fix Dumbledore's, well, attempting to fix.
I think there's a resemblance between the Pensieve and today's VR technologies. No. I'm insulted by that comparison, actually. I hate it.
I think there will be in like 50 years after more people adopt like 360 cameras, and watching like a home movie is going to be putting on your VR headset and you have like this 3D view of the action like you're there.
Yeah.
So I think the Pensieve is VR in like 50 to 60 years. Because then you're kind of living your past memories once you have the home movies.
I don't like VR.
I think it's pretty cool.
Of course you do. You are.
I don't like the metaverse or anything, but VR itself, like, it's pretty fun.
I have no desire for that. I'm like, I don't care. I don't know. I'm not excited. I'm like, oh, nothing about it is like, I want to try this. I don't care.
Robin Williams' final cut is Memory VR. Yeah, I never saw that movie. Wow. Being a Robin Williams fan, I'm sad I haven't seen that.
It's okay. I just don't like VR.
I think you're like me. You don't like the metaverse and the idea of that.
That's what it's gonna be.
No,
That
it
is
isn't.
what
It can just be playing Beat Saber, or I can't think of any other like.
Right, but how many people are gonna be just like, in some kind of virtual Sims hellscape?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what a lot of people do in The Sims now.
Right, with VR is just gonna make it that much more addicting, cause I'm gonna be in it. Ooh.
VR. No, I know why you don't like VR, because you grew up in an age that I did, where your parents told you don't get too close to the screen or you're gonna go blind, and now they're literally putting screens on our eyes.
That's no. My mom never said that to me because I never sat that fucking close to the TV.
Oh, no?
No.
Oh. Just me, then. Okay.
Yeah, just you. Like, I get the video game part of it. Like, I get the appeal of the video game part.
And
I understand that.
And
I'm
I
just
do
saying,
have
like,
the appeal now that we brought it up, like the idea of the 360 cameras becoming mainstream and, you know, taping like family outings and stuff like that, having your home movies and being able to look around them in VR and 3D. Like, that is pretty cool for the future. Like, that I would like.
Every time we talk about emerging technologies, all I can think about are the awful, terrible things that people are going to do with the technology. And that's all I can think about.
It's just like magic.
Because that is what happens. We take this tech that's really cool, and then we do really terrible things with it. To control people, manipulate people, every time. And it's awful. I am not afraid of sci-fi tech. I am afraid of what humanity does with the sci-fi tech. Because the sci-fi tech is really cool, but humans have not evolved far enough to safely handle the things they're making.
Just wait till we invent magic wands. Like real magic wands. It's gonna be great. You know what they should do? They should do like laser tag, but with wands. You get to throw on robes and stuff, and you do like, you know, wizard duels and stuff like that. Oh man,
I'd be killing motherfuckers left, right, and center.
Universal, get on it.
I'd be Voldemort and everybody.
Some kid, you can't use a killing curse.
Why not? I meant it. Should work. Oh my god, would unforgivables not be allowed?
Probably.
That's bull. Why can't I use unforgivables?
No, I'm sure you could.
That's how you win, man.
Just kill everyone.
Just kill everybody. Come on. I mean, Harry's got a good idea with Expelliarmus. That works too. But I'm just saying.
That's right, 18 and up.
I'm totally down for.
They'll have the
wand
kids
laser tag.
They'll have the kids where none of the lights turn green. You can't do the unforgivable curses.
That's BS. Well, I'm not a kid, so I guess it wouldn't matter.
Oh, what if you could do like a Crucio, and the like vest you're wearing would like shock you?
Oh, dang, that'd be awesome. That'd be terrible, but it'd be awesome. Crucio.
Stop it!
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. I don't know how you'd make Imperio work though.
It'd have to be like a haptic feedback full body suit, and then, you know, you couldn't move or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then you can only move in whatever direction, like, you tell the person to move.
That'd be cool. Now, see, that'd be fun to do in VR.
Player versus player attacks, go into a server working. Well, Dan, all spells, 18 and up, all spells are available. You use any spell you want to. I feel like if you do a bat bogey hex, like, you get slimed or something.
That'd be, yeah, it could just have like a package of like slime.
Goop,
and if someone does
shoot.
it and just blows up in your
bat bogey hex.
But yeah, you turn on player versus player attacks and go into server. I want this now.
Right. That's all well and good about the Down syndrome. But what about the flip side, where we use it to brainwash people? I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you gotta think about what good it would do too, and whether or not the bad will outweigh the good.
I do know that like the VR with like training surgeons and stuff has been mostly positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it pops in your face. Rick to Sempra.
The tickling the tickling hex would be great.
Can I do Sectum Sempra?
No.
Why?
'Cause I don't know how you could do that without having like a razor that cuts the person.
Well, no, you just... I don't know.
In front of this child, she got mad at her.
Talentalegra is the dancing feet curse. Hey. Kid knows what's up. Dude, I see people every day where I'm just like, Avada Kedavra. Wish it worked. All the time. Feel Voldemort on that one. Like,
Feel like we've gone on a super tangent.
yeah, that's fair.
I really want this game now.
The laser tag wand
Yeah.
dueling thing.
I wish I knew some more like tech savvy engineers
To develop
to
this.
develop it, because it would be great.
There's so many spells. Reducto, Confringo, Bat Bogey Hex.
So, was there anything else in the chapter?
Totally redeemed Snape in my eyes. Snape is good. There's the proof right there.
He's alright.
He's
I
good.
don't
dude.
say it fully redeems him though.
It redeems him.
Not fully.
Does.
Not in my eyes. But
Yeah, it does.
that's a discussion we've already had.
Yeah.
What the bogey curse was, I'm assuming it just covers the person in boogers. Maybe it makes like your nose explode snot. Not 100% sure, to be honest.
They don't ever show you what it is.
It's up to your imagination.
Yeah, and they don't ever show Ginny like saying the words
Yeah.
to cast it. So yeah, it's up to your imagination.
Rowling knew. You would have had a bunch of 10-year-olds just shooting snot rockets at everyone.
No one ever
No
said-
bogium.
I mean, she does a lot of things. Oh my god.
Victims' boogers turning into the bats that fly around and attack. That would be so great.
I mean, there are a lot of things you can imagine.
That's right, Dan. Doesn't excuse his treatment of my man. Neville.
He couldn't bring himself to be that guy. He physically couldn't do it.
Snape's biggest regret, he didn't live to see Neville redeem himself. Killing Nagini.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Snape saw it in how much Neville fought back. All the time.
Maybe, but you didn't see the climax, the grand finale.
Well, no. He was unfortunately dead at that point.
It's a terrible thing.
It is a terrible thing. It's fucking terrible. The man shouldn't have had to die. I understand why, but still sad.
Jelly Legs just forces 10 shots of whiskey down.
Drink it, drink it, drink it, drink it, drink it. Well, this is Harry Potter, so it'd have to be fire whiskey.
No, because I picture that as like Fireball, and I hate Fireball. Fireball is fire whiskey, pretty much.
No.
Otherwise, it would just be whiskey.
What if it's like hot and burns? Maybe that's why it's called fire whiskey.
That describes whiskey. Fireball has that extra kick, the cinnamon, that I can't stand. Cared less if Harry died as an infant, he grudgingly said to save them all. Snape was a jerk.
We can't do this debate right now. We can't. I can't do it. I can't do the Snape discussion. We did not read this chapter to relaunch into Snape is good or bad. We didn't do that.
Exactly.
It's
Everyone
not why we're
knows
here.
he's a terrible person.
Wow, no, he's not a terrible person.
Not a terrible person, but not the greatest. He has more flaws than the average man.
The fish is not a book thing. The fish is only a movie thing.
Wait, what fish thing?
Tom is talking about the Slughorn, the fish that Lily gave Slughorn. That's only in the movie. It's not in the book.
Oh, okay. I thought Lily gave him some gift. What did he give her in? Or what did she give him in the book?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a little made up thing for the movie. It was very good. Like it worked, but it's just a movie thing.
Oh, all
The
right.
fish. The fish.
You know, we were talking about like VR and stuff for surgeons. Do you think the medical professionals in the wizarding world just like chug Felix Felicis?
No, you can't. It's physically dangerous. It can kill you if you drink too much
So
of
is
it.
cocaine, but that's what we get.
No, it's like it can literally kill you if you drink too much of it.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say
Slughorn
like,
says
for surgery, I would just be like, "Whoa!"
No, Slughorn says, like when he talks about it at the beginning, he says like it's it can kill you if you drink too much of it. Or Hermione says it. Somebody says it. You drink too much of it, it'll kill you.
At a time, or over the course of your life. Because I mean, I would just save it for like surgeries, you know. Go in there.
Yeah, but if you're a surgeon, you're drinking it every day, it'll kill you.
Well, no,
After
but you
a
know,
while.
like, you know, you're just not feeling it one day, so you're like, all right, you know,
Also,
I've got to
they
do
don't-
this.
They don't do like surgery, like Muggles do surgery. They don't
Well,
do
no.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
They gotta, you know, whatever, apparate, you know, something out. Sometimes. Well, they don't get cancer, right?
No,
Appendicitis.
they don't tend to be susceptible to Muggle illnesses. They have wizarding illnesses that are treated by wizarding means.
I'm sure there's some dangerous sort of like treatment.
Oh my god.
Hope he's not. Our puppy is. He is actually probably on the couch sleeping. Maybe he is a little tired of it.
No,
No,
there's,
he's
you
not.
can never be tired of Harry Potter. Can never be tired of Harry Potter.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, I don't agree with a lot of stuff they put in the movies, but there were some changes that, like, just worked.
And there were some changes that worked better in a movie, whereas you read the book, it works better in a book, but if you were going to directly translate it into a movie, verbatim from the text, like, it wouldn't
You would have
work.
to have a narrator.
Yeah, it just wouldn't flow. So some of the choices that they made throughout the films, like, were good choices. Other choices, like Harry and Hermione dancing in the tent in Deathly Hallows, are terrible choices.
Or just Harry and Ginny's whole interactions.
Or Hermione literally taking 90% of Ron's dialogue. And Ron just standing there like an idiot 90% of the time.
I think the biggest problem that you probably had with the entire movie was them, like, color coding the characters.
I hated that. Why would you color code the characters and make Hermione fucking pink?
I remember when we were going to watch the movies, that was like the first thing you told me. The thing I hate most about these is need her freaking pink, Harry was green, Ron's red. I don't know.
Like,
I didn't
Hermione-
notice any of the other colors, but
Of all the colors you could give her, pink. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Gotta be kidding me. This is awful. I hate it. I hate it.
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds have become one of my favorite bands ever.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You can like the song. The scene was awful. I hated it so
It
much.
was cringy.
It was so cringy.
Nothing was worse than the scenes with Harry and Ginny. Though.
Oh my god, when she ties his shoe.
There was negative chemistry there.
When she ties his shoe is so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't
Oh
even a
my
lack
God.
of chemistry. Like, there was... Daniel Radcliffe pissed her off somehow, or she pissed him off somehow. Like, something happened behind the scenes.
So awkward. So awkward. I hate the Harry Hermione dance scene. I hate it so much.
Ron's maroon. Yeah, I think you're right.
But,
I said red.
Again, we're going way off tangent. This was a Princess Tale discussion, and we've been getting way off course.
We have. What else do you want to contribute to,
I literally got nothing at this point because we've just...
Look, we came up with probably the greatest wizard game that has never been invented. Which is Wizard Laser.
I am
Tag.
impressed with that.
So, I call that a win.
I am impressed with that.
But no, probably one of the most emotional chapters. You said your second favorite chapter. It's funny, your two favorite chapters are right in a row.
I know.
2 and then next is 1.
Yep. Next chapter is my favorite. Everything culminates and ties together, and Harry finally gets the truth. And then you finally learn everything about Snape, and it's all out there. And
That being said, I still don't see Snape as good guy, but after reading this again, you know, I definitely, now that I'm coming back to it and knowing more about the universe, definitely justifies some of the things a little bit better. Like, I kind of understand why he hated Muggles to a degree, because it was just his dad and then Petunia. Then who knows who else? Who knows how
he was treated at
Petunia's
school,
friends were, you know?
or how he was treated at school with his clothes and everything.
Oh, we know how he was treated.
Yeah.
Pretty badly. But yeah. Your niece was in pre-med 2020. Oh, ooh, I am sorry for her. Training and procedure virtually. I think she helped organize and design virtual trainings. That's awesome if she helped design them.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
But that is just an awful time to be pre-med. Like, I feel bad for every kid who is, like, you know, going to med school for the first time. And then, bam, COVID-19.
Yeah, that's tough.
Talk about being thrown into the deep end.
Right? Yeah, I guess you better decide if you really want to be a doctor or whatever.
They should be, like...
I agree, Vane. It totally ruined Harry and Hermione's dynamic. Sucked. The reading schedule is we're kind of just reading chapters that people are suggesting. So every Thursday we're reading a chapter. We check the comments and see what people want us to read, and we read it. So we're just kind of going all over the Potterverse. So if you have a chapter you would like to listen to, comment, and we will read the chapter.
Yeah. We might have to go back and... What was the chapter we did
Ministry of
last
Magic.
week? Ministry of Magic. We might have to do the next one. Just because... Well, that's when stuff really
Cliffhanger.
happens. Yeah.
Snape has a heart. He just doesn't want anyone else to know, which serves to help his role to take down evil. Ah, Dan. This is true.
Snape's the Grinch. And Lily is his Martha May Who.
Hey.
And Harry is Cindy Lou.
Ew.
No, that doesn't work because...
Why can't I find you? Why have you gone away?
Do the Department of Mysteries? We could definitely do that. That's another great chapter to discuss. Wait, is that the one where Sirius dies? I don't know if I can handle that.
Stretch of chapters where Sirius dies.
No, the chapter's
Beyond-
called Beyond the Veil.
That's Sirius falls beyond the veil, I think, and then the next chapter, Beyond the Veil, is like, I don't know. I'd have to look
Oh,
at the
okay.
book.
That's okay. We don't need to know right now.
What do you mean by cop-out character? Dumbledore, her cop-out character? What I mean by that is Dumbledore was seen as being so secretive. Isn't that just Rowling copping out her excuses for keeping secret key parts prior of the plot we don't understand till the end?
I mean, no. I think Dumbledore was just the vessel to, like, let out those secrets.
I mean, Snape is really the one who lets it out.
Well, the next chapter, Dumbledore does a pretty good job at it, too.
King's Cross, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a cop-out. I think she crafts it very well. I think the clues are in the text, whether Dumbledore tells you or not. I think the clues are in the text for the reader to figure out. And I think Dumbledore himself is crafted well enough and flawed enough that it's believable that he wouldn't
Be very open.
yeah, like
With
I
his-
think it all checks out that Dumbledore wouldn't reveal anything. Like I think it's well crafted.
Doesn't explain or reveal enough about Dumbledore, and she hides it behind mystery. I just think... I think it leaves something to the imagination to have Dumbledore as a mysterious character.
Well, I also think it's synonymous with growing up, because as you grow up, the people you look up to, you don't really know a lot about them other than what they represent to you and what they show you, and they're your mentor or whatever else. And then as you get older, those illusions are gone, and you see who they really are, that they're real flawed people, and that's what happened with Harry. That's why you don't find out too much about Dumbledore until he's, like, grown, because that's when people find out those things.
Their
About
heroes
their-
aren't perfect.
Right, that's when people find that stuff out. Yes, it is a Slytherin pen in my hand. It is.
Slytherin everything.
Slytherin everything.
But on that note, I know you have to get up in the morning,
Yeah, I do.
so it's up to you how much longer you want to go.
I want to eat some cookies before I go to bed, so.
Okay. Then on that note, I guess...
Yeah, very nice. Ravenclaw pen. Very cool.
Oh, very cool. I guess on that note, if you have any chapters you want us to read, we have the Ministry of Magic, which we might do. You can leave a comment. Let us know.
Right, but if there is another chapter that you guys think would be better,
And even if we don't do it next week, we may do it in the future.
yes. So keep commenting.
And we will see you next week.
See you next time.
Saturday? No, Saturday.
Yeah, I'm off.
Yeah.
So.
No, we will see you
Right,
Saturday.
see you Saturday for the next chapter read. Comment about what you want us to read, I guess.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.